Okay, setting up our leg joints, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our skeleton, create joints, tools, options, and we want to turn off the orient joint world. Now we want all of our joints to orient down the bone to give us the best rotating orientation for our joints in our leg. So again, we're going to go to our side view, and we're going to be in, still again, in wireframe mode, and we're going to add a hip joint, which is going to be right about here. We're going to come down, and then we have these 3 rings right here. We want our knee to be right in the middle of those, and then we're going to come down, and we have our ankle, which is going to be right in around here. And then we're going to come down to where our ball joint is, which the bend of our toe is about right here. So we're going to come, and we're actually going to go to the ground, to the bottom of the foot, and we're going to put a ball joint here. And then we're going to come here, and we're going to add this toe joint. If we hold shift when we click, it will do it perfectly in alignment, either forward, down, or up or back with that, so that it won't move in any other axes except for one. So I can push this up and down, but since I'm holding shift, it's only going to allow me to go in one direction until I'm happy with that position. I'm just going to put it right where that tip of that shoe is. Now this joint actually isn't going to be used for anything other than helping to tell this joint how to orient. So you'll notice that a lot of times at the end of a joint chain, we'll add one extra joint, and we're not actually going to use that for any skinning information. We're only using it because it forces the joint before to have an orientation. Otherwise, the last joint in your joint chain is going to be oriented to the world, which isn't always what you want. So we add that extra joint in there, even though it's not going to be serving much in way of when we get to skinning. Okay, we will hit enter to complete that. And then if we come back to our perspective view, we'll notice we've given him a 3rd leg. Okay, this is obviously not what we want, so we're going to move this whole joint chain over to about the middle of the leg there. Okay, the one thing you really want to pay attention to when you're setting up your leg and your arm is that we have a very intentional bend here. That's going to come into play when we get into doing IKs, which need a little bit of a bend in order for it to know which way the knee should automatically bend. So if our joint chain is perfectly straight, we're going to get unpredictable results. By putting this little bitty bend in there, we know how it's going to bend when we add an IK control in there. And that is very important. If it bent backwards when we put our IK in, the knee would bend backwards. If it came out sideways, then the knee would bend slightly sideways. So we do not want that. Okay, we want to name these joints just like we did before. So this is going to be our left. So we're going to use the naming convention L underscore, and then whatever the object is, hip underscore JNT for joint. Okay, and then if we click our down arrow, it will pick walk down to the next joint. And we will again say this is our left underscore knee joint. We're going to pick walk down. The next one is our left ankle underscore JNT. And then hit the down arrow. Again, that pick walks down to our left ball joint. And then our very last one is our left underscore toe underscore JNT, a left toe joint. Okay, now those are all set up. We want to parent this to the pelvis. The pelvis controls the hips. So we'll select our hip, shift select our pelvis, and hit P to parent that. And now we want to mirror it. Okay, so we have our mirror joint options, and I talked about earlier that we want to make sure that our settings are correct. So we're going to go to skeleton and mirror joints and click on the option box, and we're going to make sure that we have YZ behavior selected and that we have L underscore for search for and replace with R underscore. If you chose to use a naming convention where you're like, this is the left, right? Or this is LFT for left. It doesn't matter what you use as long as it's consistent. And that's what we're aiming for here, consistency. So everyone knows, including yourself, what is going on, right? So when we mirror it, we want it to search for that L underscore, and we want it to replace it with an R underscore. So we're going to click apply. Oh, we don't have anything selected. So we're going to select our hip and then click apply. And that's going to mirror it across. So now we've got our legs set up. Hooray! And if we rotate on our Z, they're going to go in opposite. That's the behavior that we want. Y is still forward, and X is going to rotate down the bone. Okay, we are oriented well. Things are looking good. Okay, let's add our joints for our arms.